Welcome friends to Farm Fresh Designs 59. In today's video, I did it again. I took one transfer, cut it in half, and made two different projects, as well as some other things. So my first item is this big box. I needed a specific size box, so I went out in my wood scraps, and I actually had my husband to make this box for me because it's been a little busy around here. So it's really tall, but you'll see why in just a little bit. And it really is just scraps of wood. And I painted it with a mixture of Voodoo Gel Stain, Tobacco Road, and then the natural. And then after it dried, then I took Dixie Belle Crackle Finish and I put that on. Now, I did not put this on very heavy because it does take quite a bit of time to dry and I just didn't have time for it. Plus, I didn't want the real big cracks in it. So, after it dried really well, then I brought out my Rust-Oleum Linen White Chalk Paint. So, if you'll remember, I told you I put the crackle on pretty light. And now as I put on the white paint, I don't want to cover it completely. I want there to still be some bare spots on it. Because not only do I want the crackle finish on it, I want it to look just a little bit aged. And as I finished each side of it, what I did then was I brought out my heat gun and I began to go ahead and dry each side of this box on the outside individually. And when you're using a heat gun with a crackle finish, then the cracks show up right away. And I think it actually does a better crackle finish if you dry it pretty quickly, as opposed to just letting it dry by itself. And I did not do the crackle or the painting on the inside. Now, this is a Jamie Ray Vintage stencil. It's just a grain stripe. There's several different grain stripes on this stencil. And I'm using IOD red ink. Now, this transfer is part of last year's Christmas transfer, the IOD, and it's called Christmas Valley. So now you can see why I needed that box to be so tall. So I believe it's about 7 or 8 inches tall. It's about 12 inches wide, but the depth of it is only about 4 inches because I went on and measured out exactly how much I needed it to be because I just had one really good piece of scrap wood and I didn't have any more of this particular type of wood and I didn't want to accidentally mess up. So it needed to be tall, but I went ahead and made sure that it was kind of skinny. And once you get that transfer on, you rub it over with that plastic, and that's called burnishing it. So I pull out my stencil again, and I'm going to put a grain stripe against the bottom of it. Now, if I had it to do over again, I think I would have raised that grain stripe just a little bit more. And if you'll notice over near the tire, there was a part where I didn't match up those lines really well. But I went back later and I sanded over it so that it wouldn't make it quite so apparent. Now, there was a little part that was on the tree or the truck, and there was a little sign hanging down that said free delivery service. So that's why I came up with these words, Christmas tree delivery. And I printed these words out on my Cricut. Now, it's been a pretty good while since I used my Cricut, and honestly, I had forgotten how much elbow grease it takes to put one of those transfers down. So it really makes me appreciate the IOD transfers that go down really easy. But I love this box, and I'm going to have to keep it myself. I don't want to put this in my vendor booth. And the trees are just some faux Christmas trees that I had. And when I put them in, I kind of leaned them back toward the back because the trees on the back of this little Christmas truck are leaning back. So what do you think? All right, here's the second part. So this is just a little plaque that I thrifted, and it had some paper on the top with some, like a little poem or something. And I took that off and I sanded it really well and made sure that it dried because it got sort of wet and when I was trying to wipe off all that dust. And I'm painting the entire front with Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint. Now, actually, I did this part of the project first, and that's where I cut the transfer in half. And so this time I'm going to have the truck facing the sign and going that way. Now, I got my inspiration from Lisa with Our Shabby Cottage because one time this year she used a transfer from Dixie Belle and it was a barn and she cut it in half, and I thought this would be perfect for this particular little truck. So once again, I put some wording on with my Cricut, and it just says Farm Fresh Christmas Trees. So once again, once I put that transfer tape over the little wording, and I have to push it down really, really hard. Nothing like the IOD transfers that are super easy. And then I go and I put it on the sign over to the right of the truck. And after I had used my Cricut for both of these projects, kind of wanted to just beat myself upside the head because I can't believe I've had this Cricut sitting in my craft room for so long and I haven't used it. So I need to be better about using it, even though it does take a little bit more effort than the IOD transfers. So once I get it all on, I'm going to use the Dixie Belle Voodoo Gel Stain. And if you'll notice, I put some tobacco road in it, and then I just put like a little squeeze of the natural and stirred it together, and that kind of makes it not so dark, and it makes it more the color of like a chocolate brown, and I put that on the front. Now, these are just some little trees that I had made a while back, and it is the IOD Boughs of Holly, and I'm going to be putting those on it, and I'm going to be putting this little bit of holly. And I actually used Dixie Belle Palmettto green. And then it was a little bit stark. So what I did later was I went back and I used some Pentart, like I think it's called Ice Paste, instead of dry brushing it white. And then these are some of the numbers from the IOD smaller alphabet set. 25 for December the 25th, and I painted those black, and then I put some gold gilding wax on it. And then I also put some ice paste on the little bumper of that truck. So what do you think? And after I did this project, then as I was getting ready for my other projects, I thought, wonder if I can cut it in half too. So if you're liking the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel because we would love for you to be part of our family. Okay, so the next one is quick and simple, and it's just a little wooden banner, and I'm using one of the little transfer sets from the Cane Cottage transfer set this year, and it's just the little green truck. So this piece of wood banner was already painted white. It was in my stash, and I put some sealer on it and put the transfer on it, but I wanted to kind of spice it up just a little bit. But because I wanted it to look a little rustic, I used Tim Holtz Distressing Ink. And then I glued on some little greenery down at the bottom and put a twine hanger on it. And then I made a red gingham check little bow to glue on to the top. Because I think that red gingham goes really well with things that are rustic. And this could be a little ornament for your tree. It could also, just be something you would put on a gift. And so basically this particular video has a lot to do with transportation. And I told my mom the other day I was putting some Christmas things out, and I saw a picture of my dad. And it just was so sweet because he always loved old trucks. Okay, so my last project is this big bucket that I thrifted, and it was just a plain galvanized bucket, and it had some pictures on it, and I couldn't get like those to come off, so I spray painted the whole thing black, and then I went back and spray painted it white. And this transfer is that really large car that's in the Cane Cottage transfer from this year. But when my granddaughter and I were thrifting this week, and I went to Goodwill, they had this big tub, and it had all of this Christmas stuff in it, and it was only $6.99. And good gracious, the little plastic tub that it was in would cost you more than $6 at Walmart. So there was a lot of Christmas things in there that I can use. And so this bucket was one of them. And I've been waiting to find something big enough to put this transfer on, because this this car is pretty big. And honestly, I couldn't figure out how to cut this one in half to see how that would work. Now, I did go on the inside and paint it about halfway down with white, and then I'm just going over it with some black StazOn ink, and I just wanted to distress it here and there. And I also put some ink on the back of it because I wanted it to look a little bit rustic. And here's the final project. So what do you think? Now, I didn't add anything extra to it. I didn't want to add ice paste to it because it was really large, and it was a little difficult to put that transfer on because it's round. And then I just put a faux Christmas tree on the inside, and I just love the way it turned out. So friends, we are at the end of the video. I know this was a short and quick video, but I hope I inspired you today to look at transfers in a different way, because the transfers are not cheap at all. And you know me, if you've watched my video, I like to make the most bang for my bucks. And so I was able to get 2 really cute projects with 1 transfer. So I was pretty excited about that. So in the comments today, make sure and let me know which one was your favorite. And let me know, have you ever pulled this little trick and cut a transfer in half and used it on 2 projects? This is the second time I've done this. But it honestly makes me look at transfers in a different sort of way. So on today, make sure to, if you enjoyed the video, to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel and become part of our family. And I am hoping to have another video out on Thursday, so make sure to turn on your notifications button. And then keep your fingers crossed that I can get to it, because I've already got all my projects made. I've just got to make sure that I can find the time to edit all of it. And with this being such a busy time of the year, there are a lot of extra events going on. So I hope to see you Thursday. Have a great day.